Welcome to the experiment, Simple Questions for 100 People. I'm Bill Correll, and this is my investigation. My research project to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. Questions are all fixed, and the interviews will remain consistent, with the variable being the actual participants themselves and their answers. It's as if I'm having you, Luke, come sit on my porch to share your thoughts so I can learn about people. Looking forward to what we're going to learn when we're done, if anything, but we're also very interested in the folks and the process and in your particular story. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce my guest. Well, how about I let you do it for me? What is your full name?
My full name is Luke Dominic Schwendeman.
Luke Dominic Schwendeman. That's really cool. Say that last name again. The way it rolls off your tongue is like butter.
Schwendeman. From my dad's side of the family. And the way I always like to say it, or he liked to say it, is spelled the usual way.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not familiar with the German spelling language, it's kind of confusing. A couple of times, sometimes people want to throw in like an R or a J because they think it's Schwendeman, but it's actually just a DE at the end of it. So it's actually kind of a comical side of life in general, because
I'm sure we could have a discussion for hours just on that one word, and it's, the etymology of where did it come from, how did it get here?
Yes.
So it's a great name. I mean, your middle name again?
My middle name is Dominic, and I actually got that from my grandfather, who unfortunately is no longer with us. He was he's a very good man, and he was very inspirational to me. And I never really felt like I got to know him as much as I should have.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that even though he's no longer with us, that I still think about him quite a lot. So
it's kind of how it is with loved ones. I'm sorry for
yes.
your loss, and I
Yes,
can tell
thank you.
he's still with you.
Yes.
So, Luke, what's your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
So I honestly don't think I have one. It's always been Luke for me. I'm blessed that I have the nickname or the middle name of Dominic because of my grandfather.
Yeah.
But I never really considered asking somebody to call me Dominic. So, I mean, now that I know it's an option, it's just something that I've never really thought about.
Yeah.
So.
And no family members have a pet name for you?
I mean, within the family, it's usually Buddy or Bubba or, stuff like that. But, out in public, it's just kind of Luke or, hey, how are you, man? Nothing really. I don't dislike Buddy, but every once in a while it's like, have an actual name, so.
If they know that, then I'm sure that they're going to stay on track for you, unless they're trying to either make points or take points, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, when did you first notice what color hair you had?
So it's difficult for me because I had a difficult childhood dealing with two types of cancer.
Yeah.
I am a proud survivor of neuroblastoma, and I was diagnosed with that at 4 months old, and a proud survivor of leukemia that I was diagnosed with at 7 years old. So if I if I take into account what age I really noticed my hair color, it would probably be between the ages of 3 and 5. But also with the treatment and all that nonsense, a lot of the time I was bald because my
Yeah.
hair would fall out. So, um, yeah, I would say between 3 and 5.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to hear, that you say proud survivor, because
Yes,
there are variations on the theme, and some are not so proud. Some never
right,
recover, and
correct.
it's one hell of a psychological challenge for most
Yes.
people to go through, dealing with something they can't see.
Hmm.
And I really think I've had a couple of my goddaughter, as a matter of fact, went through. It was about 2.5 years long, the treatment process that she went through, and the harvesting of T cells and all the rest of that sort of thing, and being isolated from the rest of the family, especially her two daughters.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is grueling, let
Hmm.
alone the surgeries and other things that go along with it. So God bless you. And you are a proud survivor, and thank you for
Yes.
sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. So, what's your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time, Luke?
So that's actually, it's interesting you asked that because I kind of thought about it and I was like, as amazing as modern technology is, it's also horrible to think about what it's actually doing to our bodies because, and I know this is bad for me, um, but at the same time, it's kind of programmed within me to just waste, not intentionally waste time during the day, but by wasting time, I'm on my phone constantly for at least 3 to 6 hours a day, which
Yep.
does not seem it. It's not healthy and doesn't seem healthy, but unfortunately, there's more. I know that there's more that we can do because we essentially have a computer in our hand, but we don't always take into account that we can actually do something from our phone. So, um, so most of the time I'm just playing games, watching TV, or binge watching TV shows and movies because it's just like I know I'm not supposed to, but there's just a little bit of satisfaction from it.
Yep.
It's not always worth it, but it's you know every once in a while you need it.
Do you have a
So,
particular kind of show that you like to watch, or a particular kind of movie?
um, mostly mostly sci-fi and kind of community because a bigger topic that I want to touch upon is that I feel like most of this stuff like community, trust, and friendship is missed a lot in this world right now,
Hmm.
and a lot of people feel alone, which when you feel alone lead to depression and just being mentally and physically unstable.
Yeah, I think the statistics bear out exactly what you're saying. The people who are numbing themselves, through some sort of mechanism, or alcohol or drugs or something of that nature, it's probably at the highest it's ever been,
Yes,
and it's pretty easy to access. And obviously, people are not careful about it,
right.
as evidenced by the number of fentanyl deaths that we are experiencing on a weekly basis, and all of that can be exacerbated by what you see on in movies and on TV.
Yes, yes.
But at the same time, I'll bet you there is a go-to movie that you've got that you've probably watched a bunch of times, if you're like many people. What is your favorite movie to watch alone?
So the one that I actually watched recently was The Greatest Showman because it shows it shows how people can come from humble beginnings and find people along the way to basically make their new family that they never had. Um, so, like I was saying, it's uplifting and it shows community and it shows trust, and that's what life should be about. But most people don't understand what it takes to. Most people are in a most people want to be in a win-win situation, but I feel like a lot of people are in win-lose.
Yes.
Meaning that they put themselves out there to win just for themselves, and they don't think about the bigger picture.
So diving in, I like what you're kind of weaving together here.
Yes,
When you look at the P.T. Barnum story, and especially how that movie and its use of popular music, and just a wonderful uplifting sort of a thing with ups and downs. And what is it about that that really kind of appeals to you?
I think it's the fact that even though it's a movie, it feels like real life.
Yep.
The idea itself can actually happen, and when it does, it just makes everything complete, and it also gives everybody hope that
Yep.
there's more to look for in life. Because I'm sure at moments when in people's professional lives when they became part of a circus was just challenging for them because they're like, oh, I have this extraordinary ability, but nobody in the real world really sees me for what I am. So maybe the circus is a good way to kind of distract myself and also grow close with people who have same or different abilities like mine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Do you want to say some more about that?
um, I mean, I would say that in this world, in the world we live in right now, that's not taken into account, and people are just really mean about it.
Yeah.
Not that they're trying to be mean about it. It's just every experience that person has can either make or break them. So it depends. It's kind of like two elements at play. That person who's being either talked down, talked down to, or talked up to can either choose to go above it or go below it. And if they go below it, they, fall into depression, um, or just sadness, or basically not knowing who they are. Or they go, and if they're talked up to, they can really create their own story. So,
It's
um,
amazing what can come from just conversation and language, isn't it?
correct, correct.
Yeah, I think you and I both would agree that our future comes out of our mouth every day,
Yes.
and it sounds to me like you've done some real study in this area.
Yeah, done I've done some research recently in the last couple of years to just kind of really figure out what it means to heal
Yeah,
because a lot of people I think are distracted by issues on the surface,
yeah,
and what they really need to focus on is getting to the root cause of why they're feeling a certain way. So,
yeah, and sometimes in the quest of why that's never answered, there's something else that's tripped over that actually brings some relief and some healing. I appreciate
agreed,
what you're saying.
agreed.
Yeah. So, all right, this is really cool. If you were to have an action figure made of you, Luke, what superpower would it have and what colors would its uniform be?
So I would say tall, strong, trustworthy, and peaceful. And a
Mm,
power would be they would have the ability to kind of read people's thoughts from a distance and just in a warm and inviting way, kind of like that distant friend that you once had who would always take the time to listen to you and care for you, because they know you're suffering and they want you to just take the time to really just either pour out or relax all those pent up emotions that you've been feeling for anywhere from 5 to 30 years.
Well said. And there is nobody who gets through this existence without going through that. This
Right.
is, I think, what is fundamental to being human.
Hmm.
And we mostly don't recognize that very much in our culture either, do we? So I really
No.
appreciate your choice of superpowers for this wonderful action figure.
Yeah.
And what colors would the uniform be?
Um, Black and white for sure, because everything in life is black and white. Um, Meaning that there wouldn't be darkness if it, or there wouldn't be light. There wouldn't be light without darkness.
Right.
Um, so black, white, and then purple. I don't necessarily know where the purple came from because the combination of black and white would be gray. But I thought, oh, that'd be kind of dull. So I guess the purple is a spiritual side of our existence, which unless you're big into Western medicine and Western practice, I don't think a lot of people really understand the power of spirit or
Yes.
spiritual practice. Not so much religion, just because I feel like you can practice spiritualism without being um, religious. But that's personally my belief. Um, but I'm not gonna shoot down. I'm not gonna shoot down anybody who has a preference to practice spiritually with religion. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I particularly love that. It resonates with a little bit of work that I've been doing lately that got kind of kicked off by a meme with a Buddhist monk saying that people erroneously label Buddhism as a religion, and it's not. It is a spiritual practice, and it's all about the knowing the self. It's not necessarily to connect with any particular, higher power or supreme being, other than the fact that we're all part of everything. We're all part of the all in all, and not a religion. But most people do consider it to be one of the top 4 or 5 religions in the world, and I see it be, in print all the time. So it's a remarkable thing to be able to listen to a teacher and not have to believe what they say. And I
right.
really think that's the core of Buddhism, you know? It doesn't matter what it means to me, what matters is what does it mean to you, you know?
Well, that's the other thing that really um, has caught my eye recently is that you know it. People are like, "Oh, I have this problem and this problem and this problem and that problem," and although there are solutions, what makes you and me different is that we're unique. We're unique human beings. No two human beings are related or the exact same. Even twins. They look different on the outside, but that doesn't mean they're the same on the inside.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I completely concur, and I have, nieces and nephews, a set of twins and a set of triplets, and boy, as they get older, they could not be more different, but when they were 5, 6, and 7, it was hard to tell them apart,
yes.
and they would do the Parent Trap stuff every once in a while where they'd act like they were the other one and just to
Hmm.
confuse people. So now we'll go set the Wayback Machine, Sherman. What did you want to grow up to be when you were 5 years old?
So at the time, I was preoccupied with just healing and processing life as a 5-year-old because I was just like, I went to war and I came back alive. Nothing else really matters right now.
Right.
So, I don't know if I necessarily took the time to really be a kid because my mind was always kind of blocking out part of it.
Yeah.
Because it was just like that was all it knew how to do. Um, it was protecting me from some of the stuff that I probably don't want to remember. Um, However, if I was given the opportunity, I'd probably want to be a hockey player.
There you
It
go.
was my favorite sport when I was younger.
Because they're tall and brave, aren't they?
Yes, yes,
And trustworthy.
yes,
Good for you. Have you watched much live hockey, by the way?
yes, yes. I'm a huge NHL fan.
Rangers?
Um, huh? Yes,
Rangers?
yep,
I was picking that up non-verbally from you. I mean, as far as most people are concerned, there are only two teams in the NHL, and then one's the Rangers and the other one's the Bruins. So
yeah. They've expanded. They've come from the original 6 to now being 32 teams in the NHL.
it's amazing the money
Yes,
that goes into sports, isn't it?
yes.
Oh my goodness. So, hockey player, do you have a preference for where you would be?
So it's actually a funny story. So I didn't start playing ice hockey until I was about 12, and I joined um, a special hockey league because of my size. I was only 40, 49 inches, maybe 49 inches tall, so I couldn't necessarily be um, in a on a high school hockey team, but I could just go out and skate and kind of meet um, similar uh, similar people who were dealing with either a whole variety of health issues,
Sure.
from autism to um, seizures to just you know being mentally unstable. And it was an eye opening experience to see that um, although everybody had different health issues, it it was community. It made it feel that much bigger because it was just that you know I personally, I never developed any friendships when I was playing with them, but it was just cool to see that even though a lot of them had health issues, that they could come together as a community and be part of something bigger. So,
That's a
um,
that's a whole different breed of wonderfulness, isn't it?
yeah, yes, it is.
Good for you, and it's really an uplifting thing to know that it's out there and available to
Mhm.
people, and, if there were somebody who is in your situation where they're probably not gonna be competitive with kids their age because of different reasons, how did you get in touch with these folks, and, is it something that's typically available in most areas, or just were you lucky that there was somebody around you?
So there's a program in West Orange um, called the Daredevil, and they play out of. They're called the Daredevils because the actual New Jersey Devils used to practice there at
Oh,
the
how about
Cody Mountain Arena or something like that in West Orange, and that was the first group I got involved in, and then I mean, they really took off from the time that I was there to the time that I was playing with a smaller group out of the ice house in Hackensack called the Avalanche. Um, and I've gone to a couple of tournaments, and the numbers grew so much they have to have like 3 or 4 games. They add like 3 or 4 games because of how many kids they have.
That's fantastic. What a
So
nice problem to have, huh?
yes, yes. Um, as far as position, I started on offense. If you're not familiar with hockey, there's the center, there's the right wing, and there's the left wing. I would start as one of the wingers. Then I dropped back to defense. And this was over a couple of years. And then, funny enough, I started playing the position my dad played when he was first playing hockey, which was goalie, which is in it of itself is a tough position to play, but it's so much fun to just either flop and completely miss the puck sometimes,
I
or
know.
or make a really good save. But um, a funny story about my dad and how he got to playing goalie in the, the sport itself was he went out one day and said, I'm gonna go play hockey. And I think it was, probably just a ball and dick at the time. And he came back and he had his front teeth knocked out. So he gets back home and he said to his mom, "Hey, I got my front teeth knocked out." And she says, "Well, you gotta learn a position where you're wearing a helmet." And he goes, "Mom, the only position in hockey where you wear a helmet is the goaltender." And she goes, "Well, you gotta learn how to play goalie." So, he learned how to play goalie, and then I guess he either took a break from playing goalie or just decided to go out and try out for a team. And again, it's the same story. Where you going? I'm going to try out for the hockey team.
Yeah.
And his mother says, "Well, make sure you wear a helmet." And he's like, uh, "No, don't worry about it. What are the chances of it happening twice?" And sure enough, he was in a position where he reached his dick out, the puck rolled off the shaft of his stick and hit him in the mouth.
Oh my goodness.
So for the second time, he got his front teeth knocked out.
That is funny.
So, yeah, he
And I
could.
can see how you wouldn't be able to stand, not being able to have that same opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Although
That's
I still have my original front teeth intact. So
good
that's
for you.
one thing my dad doesn't have.
It's kind of amazing. So I'm really appreciating this interview, and I'm glad
Yes,
you're
I
on.
am too. I am
Yeah.
too.
I want to ask, what is your greatest accomplishment, Luke? What would you say is the thing that is the greatest thing that you've been able to do?
So my greatest accomplishment is being a proud survivor of cancer twice. Um, and it has proven to me that even though life can be hard for not only me, my family as well, is that um, people should know that life is always going to throw challenges at you.
Yeah.
But the one thing that they should keep in mind is taking taking the time to really process what's going on and deciding when it's a good time to push through, because no matter what it is that they're going through,
Yeah.
there's always light on the other side. There's always light. on at the end of it, at the other end of the tunnel. And that's unfortunately a lot of people don't really think that way all the time. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this. But really underneath, their hope is kind of running out because they don't truly believe that they'll be able to push through and get through whatever they're currently dealing with.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's going into the psychology of that. And I share your choice of greatest accomplishment. I really agree. You being here is that's pretty damn cool, you know.
Yes.
So, who's your favorite person to listen to?
So my I don't have one per se. I think it's more of a variety. Um, so that list includes Dr. Joe Dispenza because she does a lot of work with just energy and how you're connecting your energy to your manifestations or thought process. Because the one thing that I learned from him is your thoughts become your actions become everything else.
Yes.
And if you're thinking in either a negative way or positive way or even optimistic way, it's not always going to go your way. But it's the fact that you took the time to really consider what you're thinking on a day-to-day basis. Another one is Mel Robbins. Just because every once in a while she'll have an interesting video that will make me either write something down for myself personally because it affected me in a good way.
Yeah.
A guy by the name of Jay Shetty. He actually has an interesting story. When he was, I think he said he was 18 years old, he dropped out of college. I think he dropped out of either college or high school, and he went and became a monk. He lived as a monk for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got back to the modern world, he was like, whoa, everybody's really distracted. Not just by, what you're doing on a day-to-day life, but also, like I said before, modern technology.
Yeah.
Steve Bartlett, he has a podcast called Diary of a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually wrote the book Diary of a CEO before starting a podcast. And then the last person I listened to is Vishen Lakiani.
Mm-hmm.
He's the owner of Mind Valley. And I like to kind of switch it up every now and then because each of them will affect me in a different way, like something I didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll listen to Dr. Joe and see what he has to say about something, and then I'll get another person's perspective on what they think of it because more information can't hurt.
Right.
So it's good to acknowledge that everybody has a different opinion.
It's also, I think, a good thing to be open to it as well.
Yeah,
You know?
correct.
It's kind of a thing that I find a little more lacking these days than it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah.
with good reason. So I appreciate that. That's quite a list of people to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's go, from here.
Yeah.
Please complete this sentence. When I grow up, I'd like to.
I'd like to be a natural resource for health, kind of guide / influencer because, taking this, I guess, research journey is what I'll call it, has proven to me that there are methods out there. There are short videos that don't cost anything for anybody that are free. That's part of the reason I love to use YouTube is because you can find almost anything on there. And if people are given the opportunity to look at some of this stuff, it may help them in the moment not feel helpless and hopeless. Because unfortunately, the way that our country right now is that everything is modern medicine, and I feel like people don't always have a say in what they want, what they can do, and what they can say no to. But if they had another source of information to choose from, um, it could be better on a multitude of levels.
Oh yeah, completely. Thinking about the short statement that RFK Jr. said that we are packing our kids' lunch boxes with food that makes them sick so that we can, sell them drugs to get over, what's making them sick. And
Yeah,
it is kind of time that people take a moment and start thinking about what it is that we're doing here and how we're going about it. Um, yeah, people are being kept alive longer, but I'm not really sure that the quality of life at the end of days is what people are looking forward to their entire life sometimes.
right.
So yes, I can definitely see you as a great resource person, and perhaps you'll be doing your own podcast here soon and having people on that you can, pick their brain and be an inspiration to other folks like you and not like you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so with that in mind, and whatever else you want to bring, what's the most important thing to you right now?
Um. Probably what I touched upon earlier when we were discussing movies and um connection and community and trust. Because without it, it's interesting to me because humans actually thrive better when they're connected to other people. But right now, we're living in a world that feels so belittled and kind of, in a way, shoved to the side. Um, like we don't really matter too much to the bigger people. Um, and not that I'm saying that we need to do something to fix that. I'm just saying that community is probably the bigger picture rather than trying to corrupt the system.
Yes, community is what's called for,
Yeah,
and the word fix doesn't belong in community.
no,
The word workability and some other things and some
trust.
integration and trust, yes,
Yes,
and a feeling of belonging and all of those wonderful things that come along with community. I agree with you. I think that that's very, very important. Um, whether I agree with you or not, it really doesn't make any difference, but it just seems like we're on kind of similar energy wavelengths here.
correct. Yeah.
Would you like to leave in the world after your life is done?
Um, I would like to leave them with a better understanding of what it is they what it is they do every day and what it is they feel every day. With resources that can help them feel better. Um, and it's funny, I wrote down Western medicine because people in those countries seem to be happier. They seem to be happier with little to do and practice, you know, just their daily um, program. that help them kind of just feel good and run more positive throughout the day without really being nudged by anything negative. It's almost like they shrug negative off, like it's a bug on their shoulder. For us, over in the US, we have so much going on that as soon as something attacks us, it's just kind of like, get off me as soon as you can. And even though we have that mindset, it doesn't really work because I think we confuse um, things that annoy us with things that we should be taking into account and processing and breaking down so that we really understand why we feel this way. Um, I think we move too fast to really understand um, what it is we're trying to reach us.
Yeah.
We're trying to get through.
Yeah. When you're a goalie, you don't have to catch everything that comes your way.
No,
There are some things that are more important to catch than others, aren't there?
yes,
And when you can bring some thought process into the picture and kind of increase the time between stimulus and response, then you can, I think, have a more authentic reaction to what's really going on as opposed to the one that's automatic.
yes.
Yeah, good. So, Luke, do you go to the bakery at all?
Every once in a while, because who doesn't need a sweet treat?
Yeah, exactly. My baker does really neat things. If you buy a dozen donuts or cupcakes or whatever, he always gives a 13th one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you're going to get a 13th baker's question here. Uh, what is it what's the thing that most people misunderstand about you?
Um, Even though the things that I have been through make me brave, strong, inspirational, whatever you want to call it, I still carry that scared child in me. Um, I know, and that's something that I haven't really thought about until now. Um, because, everybody around me always think, oh, Luke, he's doing so well. And it's just like, not always. Not always. Some days, are harder than others. Um, and who knows, maybe that's why I'm constantly hiding myself is because I don't actually have all the answers or I've been I've been scared for so long that I don't know how to reconnect with myself or the world because um I'm just trying to get by and I don't really always know the way forward.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how people choose to use you or the idea of you or the
Yes,
story, you know?
yes,
And I wonder how many people take the time to actually listen and get to know you.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. It's been a really remarkable conversation. I appreciate you. Do you have any questions for me before we sign off?
Um, what do you think the world needs more of?
What we're doing?
Okay.
I think what we need a lot more of is people to be willing to consider questions as opposed to spewing answers. And I think we really we owe it to each other as human beings to honor the human being, that we're sitting across from.
Yes,
Uh, Time to set the phone down for a while, or maybe even turn it off, and get into discussions that have something to do with learning, like what it is to be a human being. And that's one of the main reasons that I started this podcast almost 2 years ago. I really wanted to go out and find out what people are thinking and find out whether all this stuff about identity is true or not. And quite frankly, what I'm finding out is that nothing could be further from the truth in terms of people, being completely different in their thought processes. They actually, most everybody is worth listening to. And I learn something in every single podcast, and I absolutely love this. Anything else?
Yeah, to add to what you're saying, I recently read some research that a lot of people don't use their rational part of their brain when experiencing something. It's mostly just pure emotion. And it's only after the fact that they realize, why was I so sad by that news? Why was I so angry when person A said that to me? Why did person B just ignore the fact that something big so happened? It's just kind of mind-boggling in itself, because it's just like, we have these programs, but do we necessarily always know why, or do we even have a reason as to why?
Yeah.
So,
Fantastic. I appreciate the perspective and your thoughts, and I also appreciate the work that you've done to be where you are on your journey. And
yeah,
I want to thank you again, Luke, for being on with me today, and all you folks at home. This is Simple Questions for 100 People, and I'm having the best time ever. And one of the neat things that I'm getting out of this, hopefully, is to become a better listener and a better questioner. So, with that in mind, we'll sign off now, and thank you all for listening to us. And Luke, have the best day ever, please.
yes, thank you, Bill.
You betcha. Bye now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.